We all have our own story, and it's not fair for you to infer that anyone in this world may have had it better than someone else, because we're all dealt a different set of cards, and we're all choosing to play our cards the way we see fit. What is going on, my friends? Welcome back to another episode of The Morning Takeaway, aka the Inside Influence podcast. And as I say that again, it's the recurring thought of Inside Influence and getting that kind of podcast going. It's not going to be a new podcast. It's going to be the same thing here. We're just going to have guests on the show, quote unquote. I don't know if I like calling podcasts show, but anyways, to the point, the goal in 2024 is to really spearhead that and get you guys some more value, bring on guests that maybe you want to see or people that you admire in the world, and work our way up. So that is in the big picture vision. I've been saying it for months on end now. It's just time to take action on it. So that said, you probably recognize that I'm in a new little environment. I am back in Northern California here with my podcast mic that I found collecting dust and installed the programming. It's going to sound a lot better, and it makes me feel a little bit more official too, if that's not a reason to get the Inside Influence podcast back up and running, or should I say just running in general. But anyways, I am coming at you today with a podcast topic that I think is beneficial for everyone, especially in the day and age that we live in with social media. And that brings me to my first point. And before we get going, if you don't mind, don't forget to like this video, comment your thoughts, maybe a topic that you want to hear more on, even if it's in the biohacking space. I love talking about just nutrition and habits and fitness, obviously, but these podcasts tend to get really deep, and I'm okay with that because I love putting that side of my life out here and for people to listen to, even if the views aren't crazy. The best way that you can help me with views and to get this message out is to share this show / episode / podcast with someone that you think might have or see value in it, right? And again, hopefully I provide some kind of value, but again, I appreciate you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Don't forget to hit the bell icon up in the top little right-hand corner, so every time I post, it notifies you that you will see that I have a video. And obviously, the longer that you watch my videos, the longer the watch time, the better it is to help that algorithm kind of spark and spread this message. So again, playing the game of social media, but that is just the fact of the matter of how it works. I'm still trying to get used to this setup, by the way. It's kind of like awkward on this space. Once I have my studio one day, it'll be nice and comfy. But anyways, let's get into the topic today and talk about social media and kind of the world that we live in negativity on social media. And I want to use an example of something that happened with me on one of my most recent posts, actually, and kind of expand on that, because I think there's too much negativity that people pay attention to, is probably the best way to put it, that we could save ourselves so much headspace and time by not focusing our energy there. Because the way our brains work, the way that it is really the fact of the matter with life, is there's all these positive things that we have to be grateful for, and there's all of these positive things happening in our life that we don't take account of, right? But the one time something negative happens, our brain wants to focus on it and feel like the world is coming down, right? And that's just how our human brain works. And the reality of this is the fact that there is so much more positivity than negative. And if we can reframe our minds and say, hey, that was some negativity that I experienced, but there's so much more to be grateful for and to look at on the positive side. So I want to dive into a post that I did on Instagram. And firstly, with some background, I'll read you the caption that I put on this post, because I was really kind of uncomfortable. I make these videos quite a bit. I don't know if you can see it on YouTube, but it's the one where I was running and I was doing a daily affirmation and something I truly believe in and something that I do myself. And I make these videos quite often, but this is the first time that I actually posted it. One of my friends that I discovered his content, he does a lot of stuff like this. His name is Crew Mahoney, CRU. And I was inspired to do it, but my podcast or my caption said something along the lines of, transparently, I make these videos consistently, but I've never really been vulnerable enough to post them. Why? I'm not really sure, seeing as the art of vulnerability is the true connection to our lives as a whole. That's what I believe. That said, I was inspired by my good friend Crew Mahoney through his daily post and decided it was time to put one of my own out. At the end of the day, why should I be nervous to post these types of videos? I don't have a clear answer for you. All I know is that by not posting them, I'm robbing myself of my true life goal to inspire one person every day to tap into their full potential. So that said, I had an incredible amount of comments on this post saying to make more of these and that this was my best post ever. And although the engagement wasn't there because it's not my normal content, people were inspired. And when I reflect on my own life, like that is what I'm truly, truly trying to do, is have an impact, right? So for me, that was reassuring to hear and affirming to hear. Now, I checked this post right before I went to bed, and I looked at the comments, and the first comment that came up was one of negativity, to kind of bring this full circle and what I really want to reflect on today. And I'm going to find this podcast, I keep saying podcast. Why do I keep saying podcast? Let's see. Let's see if I can find it. But basically, I'm not going to be able to find it. There's so many comments, but the comment read something along the lines of, I think I took a screenshot of it, actually. I cannot find it. Anyways, the comment read, oh, no, I don't have it. Anyways, the comment read something along the lines of, spoken by someone who has truly never had to struggle. Now, I read that comment, and I was thinking, wow, like this person really had the audacity to infer something about my story and my life as a whole. Now, if you want to dig into the root of like social media, it's like, and if you've been following me for a long time, you know that my thing is to show the normality of life. And I want you to be yourself and express who you are, right? And I do tend to say, hey, if you're having a bad day, that's normal. And we should normalize that on social media. It's not just beautiful sunshine and rainbows all the time. Now, my outlook on life is that you should be grateful and that we can make every day blissful and joyful and fulfilling. But there are days that are going to be harder than others. Now, that's a whole nother podcast for itself. But my response to this person was, it was something along the lines of, I don't usually entertain negativity, but I would kindly and respectfully ask, what did I say? I would kindly and respectfully ask, I really just need to find this because it was so, I guess, oh, here we go. I jumped right to it now. Spoken by someone who has never had to struggle. I said, I don't much entertain negativity, but I would kindly and respectfully ask you to speak for yourself. Now, again, I really don't get many negative comments on really any of my posts, and if I do, I really don't entertain it because that's energy that would be sucked out of me instead of me taking my energy to put it out for good, right? Like, I believe in giving energy and not sucking energy. Now, that person chose to be an energy sucker. And the point of this is not to harp on this person for, having a bad day or whatever. And in a post earlier that week, I had somebody say, how do you deal with haters? And my true and honest response to that, I'm pretty sure I took a screenshot of that as well. Here it is. I think I try to approach every person with the same attitude. I wish them nothing but good in life. Quote unquote, hater or not, I wish joy on them, even if you don't tell them. I actually do this exercise a lot. I'll sit and I'll people watch and just pick people. I'll give them a name in my head and I'll say, and we'll use the name Daniel, for example, I wish Daniel joy, or whatever name that I make up for them. It's crazy the amount of joy that will come over you when you do this. Now, that is truly how I usually approach negative comments. But for this specific instance, basically implying that I've never struggled in my life. I have not personally come out on social media to tell my story, my family history, the things that are going on in my life that have made me the person I am. I am not ready to share that yet. There is going to be a day, and I have alluded to this in the past and previous podcasts, that the day that I share my story is going to be a pretty powerful one. And I believe that because there's things in my life that have happened because I have my own unique story, and so do you. And truly that's the point of this podcast, is putting that ideology out, is the fact that we all have our own story, and it's not fair for you to infer that anyone in this world may have had it better than someone else, because we're all dealt a different set of cards, and we're all choosing to play our cards the way we see fit, right? And I think if there's anything you take away from this podcast, it's to not waste your energy on those kinds of things in the world. Now, here you could say, here I am, like, wasting my energy, but I'm choosing to take this energy that I got from that and turn it into a positive here, because I want people to understand that it's really easy for people to hide behind the keys of a message board, as Drake would say, and in the world we live in social media, to just put people down and to troll people and to try to take stabs at people's life and be energy suckers. And I think that is a huge downfall of social media. And I think it's important that we harp on the fact that we can use social media for constructive joy and productive, like life hacks, and just like spreading an energy that will ultimately yield positivity, right? And that is how we make the world a better place, one person at a time. So that is really all I have. I think I could probably dive into this. We're already 12 minutes into this podcast, but and by the way, when I have people on, I'm aiming to go up like an hour. It's a lot easier to pay attention to people when it's two people talking, so that might go a little smoother than just me sitting here talking to you on the camera by myself. But that is really all I have for you. I wish that person well. I don't know their name, but on that specific post, I was already putting myself in a vulnerable position, and to see that the reflection from people of how positive it was really gave me affirmation to put more of that kind of content. It's more deeper level thinking, right? Like that I put out on these podcasts, but putting that into short form on Instagram as I'm having my takeaway on the run. But anyways, I'll wrap this thing up with a random question generator. What's something commonly do today that you think people will wonder why anyone would ever do that 50 years from now? What's something that people do? I guess that this was really generated weird. Basically, it's asking, what's something that people do today that people in 50 years will wonder, why the heck did we ever do that? I don't really have a specific example, but the first thing that comes to mind is the fact that I hope in 50 years, we're looking back on why were we listening to the government on what to eat, or like healthy ways to treat our body that our world has now normalized, right? I think the government will tell you not to use salt, but salt is really the key to how our body and the electric signals in our body and impulses work. Or it'll say that too much meat is not good for you, or butter is bad for you, but like grass-fed butter is going to help you in an immense way. Like I could go on a list on and on and on about these things, but that is something in 50 years I hope that maybe will be resolved for the betterment of society. But that is all I have for you today. I have exceeded almost 15 minutes now. So again, I hope you take this for what it's worth. I hope there was some kind of spark in you for your own life that you're able to take away and apply and be an energy giver rather than an energy sucker. And when there is negativity that arises in your life, you're able to take it with a grain of salt, reframe, and say, hey, how can I use this to my advantage and create something positive out of it? So That is all I have for you. Don't forget to like this video if you don't mind, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you're the first one to see my videos on the Tube of the U with me. I'll see you next time. Have an awesome freaking day, and don't forget to smile.